Hello everyone. So in this video I'd like to present my concept for the MOS-based mining machine in 1.17 with movable block entities. So you can see I'm running a slightly older snapshot, 21W07A, but it should work similarly in future snapshots, and I'm also running movable block entities with carpet mod. So my concept here, we have the dispenser being pushed down. As you can see, there's no blocks under there. So that the dispenser will be pushed down in front of the mouse block, and this allows it to hop over top of any blocks that it can't convert, and it will handle then any case where the moss disappears. And the other part of this concept is that the adjacent dispenser in the adjacent column is guaranteed to convert these two blocks when this moss is bone meal. So these dispensers pull bone meal. And that will then allow this dispenser, when it gets pushed down into this moss block, to regain the moss and bone meal this moss block. And so that, as long as any single dispenser still has moss, eventually, through the sideways spread, all the columns will regain the moss again afterwards. And any case where they do lose the moss in this column, the dispenser will either push the block down into any open caves or such below, or it will be at push limit and the dispenser won't move at all, and will just seamlessly slide over the blocks. As you can see, there's no sticky blocks right at the layer here. So here we have this test set up here. So we have some ores, and we should be okay here because we have paths through here. So some moss will continue to exist through this whole section, and the ores will get skipped over. Similarly, we should be able to handle this. We may leave a few stone here or there, but we should recover in the end. And then lastly, we have a much more aggressive amount of holes and ores. And we should also be able to go here. We'll have moss that will continue to propagate here. And then lastly, this should block it. So we block every single channel. And there's no guarantee here that we get through, because we're only going to convert this moss. And in the worst case, when the dispenser gets pushed down here, there's still no moss here to convert. But we only need one of these corner blocks to have a larger moss growth to get past here. And we have 8 or so opportunities for that to happen. So there's a very good chance that we still will be able to pass this. So let's give it a shot and see what happens. You can see here the dispenser is riding right over top of those ores, and the moss continues to be generated here. And so now our middle dispensers lose the moss, but as you can see, the moss spreads back around over this. And you see here, we just got a lucky growth with 2 moss in that column, so we'll be able to continue straight past all of this. So if we let this run a little bit so we can see what it did. And see no problems in a wide open stone patch. And we see here, we left maybe 5 stone there on the almost wall of ores and a aggressive angle there. But the rest of this is completely clear. And we were able to handle this, and the player could then come through and mine out any of these ores or any small amounts of leftover stone. Now obviously this does have some disadvantages compared to a simpler machine that has dispensers every other block or every third block. It will use 3 times the bone meal, and it's obviously very dense and expensive. We have slime and honey, and it's almost solid through here and through here. And the driver, I'm sure this can be optimized somewhat, but you have to push every single slice simultaneously. And pushing this down and making it into a three-dimensional machine likely would present some challenges, but of course it may be possible with some effort here. I mean, there are surfaces on all these segments from the top, and even pushing this down, you'd have a module come down here, which would also extend the dispenser. Then when you push this down, if you did that with a longer pulse, we get an extension and retraction that would push and pull the dispenser again, one thing down. So it may be possible, and with a slightly optimized design. But it's certainly more expensive to build and would be more time consuming to build than a simpler machine where you just clear and fill the holes as shown in the El Mango video. But this does provide a more robust solution in case that you miss a thing. You're not going to lock up the machine because it will glide right over it. And even if by some event you ended up losing all your moss, so if we knock out a whole row here or two, this should block us from having any moss. Well, actually, I guess we can spread 3, so that should block all the moss. Even if that, in the event that that does happen, the machine certainly won't convert anything, but it will just glide over top without breaking anything. So there's less chance that your machine gets stuck up. So that was my concept for the moss-based mining machine.